what's the date? August 2. No, it's not August 2.
October 4th.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Andrew. Welcome to the October 4th meeting of the Norfolk Select Board, and we'll start out this evening by facing the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We're going to start out this evening by going into an executive session. Would you start us? It's on page 2.
Thank you. I move that the board enter into executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, subsection 21A3, to discuss collective bargaining with Norfolk Fire Union, represented by Local 4134 IAFF AFL-CIO, insofar as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, and invite Justin Casanova Davis, Todd Lindmark, Aaron Kinney, and Amanda Johans to participate. The board will return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session.
And now I'm required to say in a redundant manner that the public meeting would have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. And I need to poll the board individually to see if they agree to go into executive session. Anita Mecklenburg, aye.
Kevin Calcutt, aye.
Okay.
We are now in executive session. Thank you, and welcome back we have finished our executive session, and we're back into the public session, and we'll start today with public comment. If there's anybody here for public comment, come on up.
You can come up.
Take the comfy chairs.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if you would just state your name and your street,
I will.
and we usually limit it to 3 minutes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Johnson. I live at 116 Wildwood Road right here in Norfolk. With me tonight is my neighbor, Len Kaufman. 113 Wildwood Road.
Thank you, gentlemen.
When the villages at River's Edge were developed and constructed, the developer specified installation of water pressure regulators in each condominium unit. The town issued permits in these buildings, and they were routinely inspected by the town. But the installation of these regulators were omitted in nearly half of the units. We have requested on 3 prior occasions that the town waive any new permit fees associated with the installation of these missing valves at River's Edge. The town has received permit fees for the work years ago, and we believe it's unreasonable to charge residents for the same work twice. We are not asking the town to underwrite the $575 cost of each unit owner to install these regulators, only to waive the permit fee that had already been paid by the developer. We understand the Massachusetts General Law 248 CRM Board of State Examiners and Plumbers and Gas Fitters, Section 10-14, period 14, requires, and I quote, when a municipal service or other water service source provides water to a building that exceeds 80 psi-G, a pressure-reducing valve shall be installed in the water main pipe at the point of the water service entering the building. This is to reduce the pressure to a maximum of 80 psi-G or less, end quote. The known water pressure at River's Edge exceeds this level by a significant amount when the property was developed, and it still does today. For the town to charge an additional $100 fee to each owner represents an unfair financial hardship for many of the seniors who are already paying the $575 to comply with the above stated mass safety regulation. The Board of Selectmen have granted permit fees waivers in the past under extraordinary circumstances. The 200-plus residents in our community feel this certainly qualifies as such. Any consideration in this matter would greatly be appreciated. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
And then we move on to number 2. Please consider appointment of a tenant board member, Housing Authority. Do we have anybody in the House that has applied for? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody on the screen or in the House who wants to talk to us about their application?
I believe there's anyone on.
Seeing none, we are going to kick the can down the, do we need a motion to postpone? We can just kick the can.
No, we don't need a motion.
The can is kicked. Are you okay with kicking the can, sir?
It's been kicked already.
The can is kicked. Awesome. Number 3, please consider approval of the police detail for November 8th, Election Day. This I remember as a procedural thing.
Yes, there's a procedural thing determined by the Votes Act that was recently passed. Carol spoke with Chief Hines. They have a recommendation on officers to have one officer from 8 to 12, and one officer from 4 to 8, with the option to add an officer for the 12 to 4 p.m. shift as needed. So,
thank you very much. Any questions?
None. I move that the board vote to provide detail officers as required by MGL, 1 officer placed inside the polls during polling hours, and additionally 1 detail officer assigned outside from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1 officer from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. with the option to add an officer to the 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. shift if needed to assure there are no issues at the November 8th, 2022 election.
Second, Anita Mecklenburg. Aye?
I don't think we have to do that.
Oh, we don't have to do that. No more roll call. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Number 4, Please consider approval of the following road event: Heather's Hungry Turkey Trot on November 2nd from 8 to 10.
So this seems to be an annual event that the town has approved. Police have been consulted. They're going to hire 2 police officers to do a detail. I just want to note, particularly because of the great work that this event has had, 100% of the revenue goes to King Philip scholarships. So far, they've raised $13,500.
Wow.
But particularly, it's a sad note that one of the people that helped start this process with the West Ford Dermatology, Heather, she recently passed away of cancer. So I just want to note that for the board, but they've done tremendous work for the town. No issues with the town, on the town side.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Jack Oliveri. I'm at 4 Barrel Place, and I am Heather's father. And we appreciate the support the town has given us over the past 3 years. She passed away in 2019 with a 2-year-old son she left behind. And we've had a lot of support from the town and sponsors in town, and we've been able to, as Justin said, put together a scholarship fund for them. This past June, we awarded 3 $2,000 scholarships to King Philip High students who are pursuing a career in health, which is what my daughter did. She was a PA in dermatology. So we just wanted to thank the town for all their support.
Excellent.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Sure.
Give Paula my love.
Thanks. I will.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I move that the board vote to approve Heather's Hungry Turkey Trot road event on November 24th.
Second. Are you ready? I'm going to get it right this time.
I'm ready.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Number 5, please discuss.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Do tell Paula I say aye.
I will.
Number 5, please discuss and potentially vote on vacant, I'll try again. Cleansing breath. Please discuss and potentially vote on vacant select board liaison assignments. With the vacancy, we do have several outstanding, all of CC's.
Right. So the board did vote to assign the advisory committee to the chair. The outstanding committees: the Historical Commission, the Fire Station Building Committee, the Recreation Committee Commission, and the Council on Aging. It's if the board prepares ready to assign them. It's up to you.
Do you have any big feelings?
I'm happy to do the Fire Station Building Committee.
And I can take the rest of those, because that's a big one. That's a really big one. So I'll take the rest. Because it's Council on Aging, just remind me again.
Council on Aging, the Recreation Commission, and Historical Commission.
I'll take those.
Thank you.
I guess how I would frame the vote, I would move the language there to assigning Kevin to the Fire Station Building Committee, and then I would just say for you the commissions and just use your name for that. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
So I'll make one motion for me to be assigned to the Fire Station Building Committee, and
Yes.
then we'll make another motion saying Anita will handle the remainder of the open committees. Okay,
Right.
got it. I move that the board assign Kevin Calcutt as the Fire Station Building Committee liaison for the remainder of the fiscal year 23.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
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 And I move that the board assign Anita Mecklenburg as the committee liaison for the remaining committees for the fiscal year 23.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It might be useful to me to know when those places, if that's okay to ask.
Noted.
If that's
Noted.
okay to ask, and the other ones too. The old ones, like library and stuff that I've neglected.
Sure.
Number 6. I see how I did the cleansing breath at the beginning there. Please discuss the select board vacancy and next steps. Do you want to start us, or do you want me to start us?
I'll just quickly note for the board, I reached out to our town clerk, Carol Green, and I particularly had her work backwards from the proposed debt exclusion vote from the Fire Station Building Committee, because something for the board to consider is that if assuming that the committee pursues that debt exclusion, that they would pay for the election. And so assuming we could have on there the same election, the Fire Station Building Committee would pay for the election. There wouldn't be any additional cost to the town. So I included as general information for you some information regarding that in your packet, particularly what the last day would be for you to have a vote and to consider. That would be November 23rd. That would be the 64-day notice period. Obviously, nothing is limiting the board from making an earlier decision on that, but I did want to give you that information that the vacant select board seat could go on the same ballot as the debt exclusion, not adding any additional cost for the town, and obviously as well the date you would need to determine that by. But
Okay.
after that.
So I'm going to summarize for the people on TV, the broad audience out there. I'm going to summarize my understanding, and then we can kind of duke it out.
Sure.
So CC Vantine moved to Rentham, and so that left our 3-member board as a 2-member board. We do have a quorum with 2 members, and so we're doing all right, and Kevin and I haven't we've gotten along quite nicely and solved this. I think we have 2 choices before us, and please speak up if I'm not correct, but we have a vote coming before the town in January for the fire station project, and we could tack it onto there, where we would add on the election for the vacant select board seat to that election. So that would be option number 1. Option number 2 is we could just continue with a 2-member board until the May election, when my seat is also up, and we'll just have both of those seats on the May election. And so that's my understanding of what our kind of 2 options are before us. I don't have like big feelings either way. I think that in talking to Justin, one thing he did point out, and I'm just going to talk about buses now,
Yeah.
but in the event that one of us was struck by a bus, the town is kind of in big trouble because one does not make a quorum. And so I'm not going to go in front of any buses anytime soon, but that is a variable to consider. I think that I'm talking to pros and cons on number 1. The pro is that it fills the seat sooner, and so the bus scenario is a little bit protected. I think the con of the January election is it doesn't give people a lot of time to consider a candidacy and get the ball rolling and get things going. So it does put any potential candidates out there in a hurry, right? So that I see as the con for the January. The pro is that it does bring us a little bit closer, gives us a little bit more wiggle room in terms of what's, like if we want to look at it purely of what's best for the town. So for the May election, and neither one costs us money, right? Because May we're having anyway, and the January one we're having anyway, so there's not a fiscal consideration in the decision.
Correct.
And then the May election is, the advantage is it gives candidates a big amount of time to get their act together and kind of run a campaign and run if they're interested. And the disadvantage is there's the bus thing. That's my short summary of how I understand it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's all very accurate. I didn't see anything in there was a gap. I will call out the potential that, my seat will also potentially be on the ballot for May, pending the results of the November election. So that could add another level of complexity to the turnover and whatnot. And, initially I had thought, that there was some benefit to having somebody seated before we get to May. They could get acclimated, and whatever we have going on the ballot in May could be a separate ordeal altogether, instead of the, potential for a majority of the seats being up at once. That being said, though, you make a very good point about if something were to happen to one of us. I'm not really sure what protocol is there for us to keep things moving. I don't know if we'd have to hold a special election immediately, or if we'd have to appoint somebody, or how that would work.
I did ask Justin to look into that. We'll see if he's...
Excuse me, sorry.
So in the event that something were to happen to one member of a 2-person board,
Yes.
how would we keep the town moving?
The town would be incapacitated, just like that individual. There would not be a quorum. I did check with with an advisor a bit to just make sure. But if you don't have a quorum, you can't do the town's business.
So the town would be paralyzed until they had their, and they couldn't even vote to have an election.
You could vote to have an emergency election.
With a one-member board.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You could.
How would you even vote to have the
Exactly,
election?
you can't.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't
Exactly.
even
You
vote
couldn't
to
do that.
have, the
You
whole
couldn't do
town
that.
would come to a screeching, we'd
Right.
better stay away from buses.
Right.
Yeah.
But then on the May, I hadn't considered, so thank you for bringing it up, that if we did May, then all 3 positions, the entire board would be on the ballot. And that's an unconventional scenario.
Agreed. I also, want to take into consideration the potential for an individual who is interested in running for the select board, if we were to hold a selection in January, would have to be doing so across Thanksgiving, across Christmas, across New Year's.
Yep.
It's not exactly the ideal time to be staging a campaign to make your case to the community. So there's definitely not an easy answer there.
I don't even think there's a right answer.
Yeah.
I think there's like kind of uncomfortable choice number 1 and uncomfortable choice number 2. And I don't have big feelings. I can see clearly the pros and cons of January, and I can see clearly the pros and cons of May, and neither one sort of swings the needle for me. And so if it swings the needle for you, I would be there. It's an uncomfortable. Neither is a great choice.
Yeah, considering that I live my life in front of that proverbial bus, I am concerned about
The bus.
it could be something small as, an illness, and that puts us out of commission for at least a week, or could skip one meeting. And it's not a safe, and, thank God we've been able to operate pretty seamlessly thus far. But I also don't want to push the envelope any more than we necessarily have to. So I think in the interest of playing it safe, it may be in our best interest to do one of those seat or CC seat in January. And then, we can go the more standard route for any other seats that do potentially come up in the spring.
I have to say, I think that's probably because I had before, when we had talked about this, we had talked about the fact of what if you and I weren't able to come to some kind of compromise on a vote, or what if you and I were at odds and then we're at an impasse because there's no tie-breaking vote. And that was sort of the lens that I was looking at it. But then once I had the bus lens, like that's a whole different lens, right? And as unlikely as it is, it would be paralyzing to the town, and I'm not sure we're in the mood to set like precedent.
Right. Yeah. I also would like to inquire about the status of our inquiry as to how we change to a 5-person board potentially. Now might be a really good time to start talking about what that entails. But
I'm not
in the immediate need, I agree. I don't know how much longer you want to chance 2 members being able to carry that load.
Like May will be here fast, and so the problem is just all the buses. So we can kick the can because it seems like we have till November 23rd. So if you want to sleep on it for a while, or we can just say, we can just decide. I think if we're going to do the January, we should give people as much time as we possibly can.
Absolutely. That's the big thing from my perspective, is that if we are going to do a January vote, we want people to have as much time in the fall to be able to, get their signatures, get around to people, and engage with as many folks as they can in the community before people start breaking for the holidays. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks,
Yes.
correct?
Just a recommendation for the board. We could I think it might be prudent to tie this in also with the Fire Station Building Committee and that project, even though they're sort of separate and different timelines. But I think the board could potentially consider at their next meeting whether to hold this election. I think the earlier the better, to give people more opportunity, but also aligning this with the Fire Station Building Committee's timeline to make sure, hey, the board has to make decisions on early voting, mail-in voting, et cetera. And I think tying that all together and understand the deadlines might be prudent. So I will probably put both those agenda items together for the board to consider. Unless you want to make a decision tonight, which I don't think you do, but at least the following meeting you will have all that information available to you.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to do that all at once.
I agree, and I'm totally fine with that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're good?
Plus, if anybody has any dire points that we might have missed in our discussion or our rationale,
They can reach out and
now would be a
enlighten
great
us.
time to call that out before we get to our next meeting.
Right.
Or they could call buses.com.
Stay away from Norfolk.
All right, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're on to number 7. Please review the list of warrant articles and a draft of the November 15th special town meeting warrant. So that's number 7.
Number 7. Okay, so as part of your packet, there's sort of an article list, and then we have a sort of draft warrant. I will preface this by saying town council is reviewing this, and there are some changes, but the general parameters of the warrant article set. My plan is also for the following select board meeting, the board will vote to execute the warrant, but this is just a general overview. Other departments will provide further information as well. So I'm just going to give a general overview of the warrant article. The first article is the sort of a typical article. Is for the paying of unpaid bills from the prior year. As of this moment, we do not have any unpaid bills.
Awesome.
So we would probably IP that. Number 2 is another typical warrant article, is the budget transfers article for the town. Right now, what our budget transfer list would look like would be about $100,000 for OPEB, $150,000 for the stabilization fund. There would be a band payment of $120,442 to pay for the salt shed, fire pump, and DPW snow truck that the town made a ban, took a ban out previously. We have a $75,000 transfer for oil and gas maintenance. We've had increased fuel costs and heating expenses, so we need to account for that. And then another transfer, but it is in a separate article. It's a little different for what the town's done before, but there'll be $70,000 transferred for the clerical contract to ratify that. Now, it is a little bit different than what the town has done before, but there's a separate article for that. It's article number 3, which is what typically is done where you have a union contract where town meeting has opportunity to ratify any contracts before the town. This gives us also flexibility if there's any other outstanding union contracts that we can ratify as well. We can do that at the same time with that warrant article. The fourth article would be our capital expenditures from borrowing. As of this moment, Todd, we do not have anything there. I expect that our next board meeting, we will have a capital list. We don't have one just yet. We're tying that in with our ARPA requests. So that would be the 5th article, capital expenditures other than borrowing. And so that list will be at the next board meeting. Article 6 would be appropriating TNC ride funds. We do this semi-annually, it seems. We have about $1,800 that we'd appropriate. This is for Uber and Lyft revenue that the town receives and sort of mitigating that effect on communities. Article 7 would be the hearing reports from town committees. Article 8 is a Board of Assessor article. Now, this article is adopting Clause 22G, which essentially the town has adopted some veterans exemptions for disabled veterans. What this article would do would allow a veteran who has their home in a trust be eligible to receive whatever exemption they qualify for. I think the Board of Assessors can provide a little bit more information on that. However, I did speak with Gary and the team there. What they've been doing for any veterans that have who would qualify for an exemption and have a home in trust, they've been advising them to go to an attorney and sort of put the domicile in their name, which is additional cost for that veteran. So this is a way to sort of make them whole and not make them have any additional costs. So that's what the premise of that article is. Article 9 and Article 10 are street acceptances. Rich will provide further information on there, but typical street acceptance articles. Article 11 is zoning bylaw B1 zoning map change. I will give an overview. I think Rich and the planning board should come and present this to you. However, the planning board is going to give a recommendation on October 11th meeting. They're going to vote and give a recommendation to the board. But essentially what this article would do would change the zoning map to extend the commercial zoning district a little further to eliminate the need to have a green bush in between. It's just a mechanism to eliminate that buffer. And that's particularly for the fire station and the church is on board with that article as well. Some good news is Article 12 and Article 13 probably will be combined. It's listed as 12 and 13, but the goal and the initiative is to allow for mixed-use development on this property of the River's Edge. The planning board sponsored this article, and it's right now it's sort of zoned just for restaurant, but it will allow some flexibility to have a mixed-use building there. So this is just a process to allow that to occur. Article 14 would be an update to the wetlands bylaw, and that largely is about just allowing a certificate of mailing as a proper notice for abutters. Currently, there's only a certified mail or hand delivery, and having a certificate of mail would alleviate the burden of whoever is applying for these various, whether it be a town or a resident, to have a hand-delivered or certified mail. A lot of communities are doing that because if you do not get notification or what they call is the green card from the postcard, it can actually delay a hearing, which is additional expense for whoever is applying for it and for the town if it's a town project.
Right.
So this seems like a sensible solution. Caitlin can provide more information about that. Article 15 is another change. This was proposed by the Energy Committee. After discussing with them and potential capital project, they are withdrawing this article. So that will probably be something that we would remove. But that is the general overview. I plan for our next meeting to really get into nitty-gritty and allow the board to ask departments, and we can go into the financial aspects of the articles at the following meeting.
Thank you.
Great rundown. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions?
I do not have any questions. I've been actively attending the advisory board meetings, so I feel more up to speed than usual. And, oh, there's that map. I'm sorry, I'm being distracted. I'll get myself undistracted. We are to number 8, if I remember correctly. Number 8, town administrator updates.
Okay, so I have 2 items that I'd like to address. One, I do want to let the board know that DOR notified the town that our free cash had been certified. It was a very good number. It was $2.9 million. Last year was about $3.0 million, $3 million, which is a strong figure for the town, considering what the free cash number was before. So that will allow Todd and myself and our team to go through and sort of guide us on what capital expenditures we can do. So that's a great figure. I want to commend Todd and the finance team in helping us get there. So that's a great figure. I do want to just read a quick statement about an issue that we had concerning a Facebook post on the Council of Aging. So last week, the Council on Aging posted a Facebook post informing the public about an event at the Senior Center that inadvertently included language that shouldn't be a part of a town post. This language could be conceived as advocating for a political candidate. This was a simple cut and paste mistake. Immediately when the mistake was brought to our attention, we removed the Facebook post. The town checked with town council and the Office of Campaign and Political Finance. Both have advised the town that we remedied the situation suitably. As town administrator, I made sure that we reviewed this situation with our Council on Aging director. There was an overview of our social media policy, and we went over measures to help ensure that this doesn't happen again. I just want to reiterate that the town does not support any candidates or campaigns that is expressly not allowed by law. So I just wanted to inform the community and the board about that situation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And those are my town administrator updates.
Excellent. And then number 9, did you have any questions? I'm sorry, was I going too fast?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Number 9, warrants.
I move that the board approve 7 warrants for the period of September 9th, 2022 through September 27th, 2022, as printed on the agenda for this meeting.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then there are no minutes.
I did see minutes for review, and I will get to them.
That was late. We'll get next meeting.
So we just need one last motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes have it.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Have a good night.